Welcome to Get Wed,
a podcast to plan your wedding by.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Kerry.
And we're both here as professional photographers
and brides-to-be to help you plan your big day.
Each week we'll discuss a topic that you'll encounter along your wedding planning journey.
And with the help of fellow industry experts, we'll navigate this crazy wedding world
together.
Hello and welcome back to the podcast, everybody. This week's discussion is all about diet and lifestyle in relation to your wedding day. This is a topic that I've been a little bit hesitant to cover, but we've had so many requests from our members in our Facebook group who are looking to lose a little bit of weight and improve their lifestyles since they've been engaged in preparation for their wedding days. Now, I don't want this to become a 10 ways to lose weight quick style episode because, let's be real, there's already so much pressure and stress on you when you're planning your wedding day. So I've enlisted the help of a professional who's going to teach us not only how to get a fit and healthy way, but how improving our self-confidence and mindset is just as important. So I just want to introduce you all to Keris from Fitter Food. So welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Could you just let our listeners know a little bit more about you and your business, which is Fitter Food?
So I run, we kind of call ourselves a lifestyle company, healthy lifestyle company, and I run it with my other half, and that's so business and in life, Matt. We both were originally personal trainers, and we were running a training company in London. And whilst we love training, we actually set the company up because we could see a bit of a gap for people a bit bored of normal classes. So we decided to launch a class that was different every time you walked in. Mm-hmm. So mixing up things like boxing and spinning and all those kind of things. But we launched that as just let's see if it works. We never actually set out to run a business. And it really took off. So we ran that for a couple of years in London, but we noticed this kind of massive need for, there's again a bit of a gap for people understanding what good nutrition consisted of. Mm-hmm. So we decided to basically kind of put an ebook together of a few recipes, but that suddenly escalated into about 200 pages worth of information about why we were making these recommendations, why we think these foods are really good, why you should eat them, and then 100 recipes. And a friend just said to us one day, I think you should publish that book. So we self-published the book, and that kind of launched Fitter Food, which is the nutrition kind of arm of, we were Fitter London originally. Mm-hmm. Since then, I went off and studied nutritional therapy as well. So that's using nutrition as medicine, so to help people with things like eczema, asthma, weight loss, heart disease. Mm-hmm. And so more and more we've kind of branched out and said we're a lifestyle company because we've realised the importance of all the other factors that we have to consider when it comes to health. So that's kind of how Fitter Food came about, and we've been going for about 6 years, but it feels like 60. If I'm honest.
Well, it must be hard work keeping on top of because does Matt do all the exercise style of things then whilst you're kind of more on the nutrition side, or do you share out between you?
That's how we started, but increasingly Matt's gone away and also done a qualification. He's doing something called MNU, which is more geared at kind of the fitness industry, and he's really wanting to improve his knowledge, and I'm always interested in training as part of my lifestyle. So I've just gone off and done yoga teacher training. So we kind of in and out of all of it, and always want to grow professionally, but both of us get bored really easily. We want to be stimulated, and we want kind of new things to do and be challenged professionally. But a big factor of it as well is education. It was my route out of some problems with kind of body image issues and being tempted by diets. Mm-hmm. So always really, it's an ongoing thing for me that I educate myself, and that's again what we try and do with our followers and members is educate them so they can make informed decisions about anything from weight loss to exercise, whatever they want to do.
Yeah. And I really like the sound of that because I think so many people just panic diet or crash diet especially when they've got big life moments coming up like weddings, etc. I think people tend to just have a panic and try and crash diet, and I just don't think that's a healthy way to do it. So that's really handy that we're having you on today to kind of teach people how to not panic and do it in a more healthy way.
It's like certain times in the year. So because we've been in the kind of fitness industry for nearly 10 years, we know the kind of times of year that this all happens. So we tend to have the September time, everyone comes back from holiday, mm-hmm. and kids have been off school, and so everything's gone a bit, AWOL. And then same thing around kind of March time, springtime, we get the kind of get ready for summer holidays, beach body. And it just seems a shame to me that, this could be a full-time job for a lot of people.
Just dieting.
Literally, working really hard to achieve something and then spending some time on doing it and then searching for a new solution. And it literally starts to consume people, and it's really stressful, and it causes a lot of anxiety and a very negative relationship with your body that's very difficult to get out of. So it is a message that we have, a really boring message that this is a lifestyle, it's not a diet, but it's the honest truth, and it's how both Matt and I stay fit and healthy. So
okay, so I can't remember where I read this, but somewhere apparently somebody wrote once that 70% of women say they want to lose weight before their wedding day, which is quite worrying in itself. Do you notice a lot of people join up for the program? Like your 365 program, your 50-16 programs, because of that coming up?
Yeah, definitely. And like you're saying, they don't often give themselves much time. And so it gets very urgent. We had the same thing when we were personal trainers. People come in and say like 8 weeks, 12 weeks and throw money at us, and it's because because I want to earn a living. It shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't be this urgency and you start throwing money at this situation. Again, which is why I go back to the kind of education side. And what we speak to people about is to even change. So one of the things I'm really passionate about educating women about is that to actually have a healthy body composition, so let's kind of put fat loss, weight loss aside, actually requires a number of things. But one is really good micronutrient status, so good amounts of vitamins and minerals within your nutrition. And things like pregnancy, stress, exercise, and maybe not, eating processed foods mean that we don't have good amounts. And that means that we're not very good at converting food into energy. So body compositions then obviously aren't so good, but it's not necessarily down to us overeating, which is what we're all led to believe, or not exercising. It's that we don't have the infrastructure to turn fat into energy. And to change that can take about just 12 weeks. But in that time, a lot of people like to use the word metabolism. You can transform your metabolism by eating more nutritious food and looking after things like your hormones as well. And that takes 12 weeks. So for us, as a starting point, we've got to allow 12 weeks to just get the foundations in place.
Yeah.
But then again, what you achieve in that 12 weeks is phenomenal, and it's lasting. So then the next, but more than anything, we kind of say to people, just start to settle into the journey, because it's going to be, there is no end point, there's no finish line. So ideally, whatever you do, to try and feel better about yourself on your wedding day should be something that's healthy, sustainable, enjoyable, realistic, and carries on the day after your wedding day as well. And years and years after, because the next thing might be a fertility goal, and all the same things will apply to fertility or longevity if you just want to live till you're 120, whatever it might be. Goals are in life. Yeah.
That's really interesting, because I think so many people are so focused on losing weight for the wedding day, as we've mentioned, that, like you say, it should carry on afterwards. It should be something that you don't just kind of give up on, like, oh, I'm married now, and just go back to your old ways. It should be something that you enjoy doing and you want to keep around in your life. Because I think the worst thing to do as well is to kind of reach that amazing weight goal or whatever it was that you had in mind. Look back at your wedding pictures, 5 years later, and you're nothing like that person anymore, because that almost isn't you in those wedding pictures, if that's the case.
No, I think that would really eat away at me a little bit if I've been bridesmaids, and I've gone to friends' weddings, and I've heard comments like I'm just not going to eat in the months before the wedding, and that really does happen. I've seen women say, I'm going to be a size 8, and I say, oh, okay, what's your plan with that? And it's literally, I'm going to starve myself and overtrain, over-exercise. And that really hammers the female body. So if anything, when you resume business as usual after the wedding, the body kind of says, right, I'm probably going to do the opposite, store it all as fat, because there's deficiencies of nutrients. There's, the body's almost scared that it will go through that again. So you create problems for yourself a bit further down the line. But I mean, going back a little bit further, the question should be, like you've kind of talked about a little bit already, is that relationship with your body anyway? We shouldn't be kind of demanding sizes from our body. We need to be healthy. That's definitely something, that I communicate to people. But this kind of statement of what you want from your body, but not actually taking time to educate yourself about what your body needs. It's being in a relationship. Maybe it's like being like Bridezilla, kind of making terms of people, but then not understanding what other people want out of the situation. And it's a very angry dialogue we have with our body. We don't like it. We want it to change. Imagine if you spoke to your fiance like this, like, you know, you wouldn't be having
That's
a wedding
really good
day.
point. Yeah. That's a really good way to put it. And I guess it's things like so many people go on those like awful diets as well, where it's just like juice diets and, you know, those weight loss pills and things. And I can imagine that they're just terrible for your body as well, because it's, like, say, just starving yourself of the nutrients that you actually need.
Yeah, so the one thing I can reassure, so as well as studying nutrition and being a personal trainer, and again, since studying, I've worked with lots of clients, and they act like kind of continued education for me, because I learn more and more about the body. But prior to that, obviously, in my 20s and teens, I was kind of suffering with weight gain and wanted to lose weight, and that's how I started running. I did some vegan diets, vegetarian diets, I did fat-free diets, all sorts of things. So I kind of know what's out there, and I was getting all my information from these diet magazines. And the one thing I can reassure anyone listening to this podcast right now, there is no quick fix solution. Absolutely not. Yes, you could lose a lot of water very quickly. Maybe you could get, you know, to a size 8 by starving yourself, but there will be repercussions for that, and they're really hard to undo. And things like your thyroid hormone get very upset by starvation diets and deprivation of nutrients, as do the female hormones. So you could create some real problems for yourself, where it's then a struggle to maintain a healthy weight afterwards, or a struggle to even have good fertility and things like that. So always think long term. I know it's really tempting, but just don't even go there, because the other side of weight loss that we talk about a lot, which might not be something that your listeners are aware of, is digestive health is kind of a big foundational part of it. So more and more people are talking about gut health, and it's important because we know that that's where we would digest and absorb food. But actually, we also know that things like antibiotics lead to weight gain. So they know there's some kind of interaction between gut bacteria and our hormones and our, let's call it metabolism, just for ease.
Yeah.
So the rate at which we can kind of burn food and use it for energy. And that's all kind of linking back to the gut. But lots of things that we do, like these starvation diets or taking various different pills and potions, have a negative effect on the gut. And again, that just makes it harder for you in the long term. It just means you're constantly on this kind of, this battle against your body to keep the weight off, to maintain that. Whereas again, if you go away, educate yourself a little bit about good food, nutritious food, things that help support gut function, then you can have a healthy body composition, and it's effortless. And that's where I feel I am, and that's what I'm really passionate about bringing to other women. And that is, well, both of us are guys as well, to not have this kind of constant full-time job to try and achieve these kind of, and sometimes they're unrealistic. Sometimes we want things of our body that's not possible, and there has to be a level of acceptance there. So for me, it's like I'm never going to have, there's certain areas of my body. I've got hips, I've got a bum, I've got legs, and after time, there's a certain amount of time I had to go, I need to accept this. This is what my body's like, and stop trying to force it. I'm never going to have these legs up to my armpits unless I go and buy a new set of legs, or but there's bits of our body we've decided, we don't like, but actually and maybe it's an age thing for me, that as I've got older, I'm just grateful to have a body, if I'm honest, now, a body that works and a body that lets me do some amazing stuff in life. So
yeah, that's very true. So for those people who are listening and they're still very set on this path of wanting to lose weight, how do you recommend they start to do so in a healthy way?
So the first thing I would do is change the source of their nutrients, or the source of foods that you eat. So a Fitter Food we talk about, we've kind of rejigged the food pyramid and say that most of it should just be unprocessed. So it's things like meat, fish, eggs, all the vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds. The less, if you think of anything that's gone into a factory and been processed in any way, it can have quite a negative effect on hormones like insulin, and that is one that we want to get under control if we want to be healthy. And insulin is linked to a number of chronic diseases, so it's not just weight loss here, this is just good health generally. So again, and these processed refined foods are quite a new addition to our diet. So again, and if they have been around for a while, but not in such excessive amounts. So even just limiting them a little bit, and making better choices when it comes to especially things like carbohydrates. So, like a nice kind of whole oat based porridge rather than having ready break or kind of Weetabix or Cheerios, those kind of things. So really small changes, but just initially change the source of your calories, as it were. And then the next step is to kind of look at the rest of your lifestyle. So again, if you change too much very quickly, it can be hard to know what's working and what's not.
Yeah.
But you have to look at your activity level. And by that, I don't just mean going to the gym. So again, for those people out there who don't like exercise, I just suggest walking more at first. And that's one of the best things that we can all start doing, so, walk part of your commute to work or walk in your lunch hour, whenever you can, just fit in a walk. Also, if you have a cleaner, get rid of them. If you have a gardener, get rid of them. Like start more in your daily lifestyle. This is something that we're stopping. We're kind of changing our lifestyles to get all these labor saving devices or employing people to do things that we could do ourselves, and it stops us moving essentially.
Yeah.
So the body likes to have this kind of slow burn of energy, and even if you're desk bound, you can make some small changes that will help support that. Next up would be sleep. So if you're not sleeping, it can be really hard again for the body to have a healthy body composition. It's really strongly linked to appetite sleep. So for a start, I mean, everyone knows this, I'm sure you know this, a bad night's sleep, you can have a bit of an insatiable appetite, but you also get cravings for energy, and it's hard to feel satisfied through the lack of sleep, because the body just kind of doesn't feel, it's not fueled very well, and it's tired, it's fatigued, it just wants the quickest source of energy, which is sugar or caffeine or, whatever it is that you might crave. So just focusing on those three things alone, so getting more kind of, again, there's a lot of focus on macronutrients in the fitness and health world. It's all about low carbs or vegan versus paleo diet versus, and some of these diets, I know them all, and I know them all really well, and I might use some therapeutically for different clients who have kind of health issues that they want to solve. But when it comes to actual just general health and the healthy body composition, I just kind of say the least refined products, the best. Stick to 3 meals a day if you can. Make sure you're generally quite active, at least 10,000 steps, and start to get as much sleep as you can, 7-8 hours. And those 3 things alone are going to make such a big difference, because you're getting more micronutrients as well. So we talked about metabolism, and they're going to come from the fact that you're eating meat, fish, eggs, and vegetables instead of kind of bread, cereal, and pasta, which is again what most people are kind of the quick foods that we're relying on a little bit too much.
And actually, because I was saying to you earlier how my husband's been involved in your programs and things, and so most of the food all the food that we eat nowadays is stuff that we're preparing ourselves from, those kind of food groups. And it doesn't take that much longer to just make yourself a meal from fresh ingredients than it would do to just chuck, some pre-processed fish cakes in the oven or whatever. It doesn't take a huge amount of time away from your life to do something for yourself. So it's only a small change.
That's the one thing I should have mentioned first, is cook from scratch, cook at home. And it's a skill that, again, I couldn't cook that well when we launched Fit Food, and that's why the recipes are very basic. In fact, my gran looked at our recipe book and went, "Are you serious? You're seriously going to put this out there as recipes, like omelettes and things?" But I couldn't make an omelette when I left university. I just didn't cook. I relied on things like Uncle Ben's microwave rice and some, just literally anything that was quick. And I was going down that route of whatever's quick and easiest, not really understanding. And I thought I was being healthy because the choices were healthy. But again, when we buy things ready-made, pre-packaged, they've been in supermarkets for a while. They don't have as many vitamins and minerals. There's often more preservatives in there because they've got to keep on a shelf for longer. And so again, we keep our recipes. We still keep them very simple and quick. But even I was just like you've just said, surprised really at how it's just a skill that we need to practice. So if you want to learn how to do squats or you want to learn how to do photography or anything, we go out there and we kind of commit ourselves, and it's no different to cooking. And it is this single skill that's going to transform your health from, inside out, mood health, hormone health, body composition, everything. So, it is the one that we should all be focusing on a little bit more.
Yeah. And I suppose, it's also just about being organised, isn't it? So if you want to kind of make those meals, perhaps make a meal plan for the week, make sure you've got everything in, and you can pre-prep things so that it's easier and quicker for you during the week, can't you? So
Definitely. And with the practice, you get quicker. So you get quicker at ordering your shopping online if that saves you a bit of time and you want just the food in, or you kind of know which aisles to run down the supermarket. Now that you're not doing processed foods, there's only about 3 that you're going to use anyway.
Yeah.
The shop is quicker. And then you just start to get your favorites. So like I say to people, have your favorite 5. Like ratatouille is really quick for me. I've got a couple of stews and curries that I can make off by heart. It doesn't take long to memorize that, and then suddenly you're making it in 10 minutes. And then we have we call them emergency meals, where we know how to literally, and stir fry is one of them, obviously, where you can 5 minutes if you're really hungry. And then, like you said, just having some things in the fridge, like boiled eggs and stuff like that, that just are there in case you're getting hungry and you haven't got anything prepared. You can have something like that.
Yeah.
One thing I'm a big fan of, it's in all our books, is actually just making a really tasty salad. And people look at salad, and a friend of mine once said, I can't stand how much garden you eat. Like, it's in an office. And she's like, how do you eat so much garden? It's ridiculous. But I've always added stuff to it. So I don't just eat leaves. It's got avocado. It might have feta. It might have like roasted vegetables, walnuts, seeds, balsamic vinegar dressings, those kind of things, lemon juice. I've always never just eat a bowl of lettuce, but that is a ready meal, essentially. It takes you 5 minutes to knock that together, and then you could be a tin of fish or some cooked chicken that you have in, and it's really quick. And one thing that I kind of mentioned on a Facebook post recently was, I think I realized early on that I've kind of got 2 versions of myself, and one that eats this way and gets out for walks with the dog and gets a lot of sleep. I'm much more productive, energized, happy, motivated, and more adventurous. And then when I don't do those things, I'm the complete opposite of all those. I'm lethargic, I'm moody, I don't want to get out of bed sometimes, don't want to leave the house sometimes. So I think in a way I was quite lucky. I realized that very quickly. So the effect that those habits have on me is quite big. And hopefully some of your listeners, will take that away, that you don't have to be the version of yourself, maybe where you're tired and bloated and things like that. You can change it, and it doesn't take long to see a difference, but it needs to be something that you do day in, day out.
Yeah, and I suppose actually it's quite difficult to realise that can all be changed just from the things that you're eating and the amount you're moving. But it can immediately change your mood. So,
I mean, I went away this year and really geeked out on kind of biomedicine, which is kind of how the different systems in the body work, and energy and like I said, how we convert energy into food. And I was astounded. I mean, I kind of knew some of this stuff, but really went away and did a really kind of intense course at just how important vitamins and minerals are. And vitamin actually kind of means essential to life, yet none of us take any notice of whether we get enough vitamin C or whether we have enough vitamin A in our diet, which is from animal products, as well as your carrots and butternut squash. And it just kind of astounded me that really we just neglect our nutrition in this way, when everything, if you think of your body's ability to produce serotonin, which makes you happy, that's really important. And that requires a lot of vitamins and minerals to take place. So if we're happy, we have to think about, nutrition. It has a big impact.
Yeah, that's so true. So we spoke a bit about that in comparison to exercise, but how important is the food that we eat in comparison to exercise then? Should we focus on one area, or do both go hand in hand, or can you lose weight by just improving your diet? Or
so nutrition would always be the focus initially for me. If you think of how many times you eat in a week and how many times you can exercise, it's always going to be nutrition will pack the biggest punch. But what I would say is a lot of people benefit from doing the 2, because you get endorphins from exercise, and that has a knock-on effect of, if you've kind of been for a run, you don't come back and want cake, but your listeners might be going, it's me. But and there is a bit of complacency sometimes of exercise. But if we start out low level and just walk in and get a little bit of a mood lift, and are making the dietary changes as well, the 2 together get you feeling more energized and motivated and consistent. And also through exercise, if you hook up with a friend and stay a bit accountable, and you could do the same with your nutrition, you get your partner involved, friends, family, whoever you live with. Again, all of it just starts to go hand in hand, and the nutrition makes you more energized to exercise, and the exercise helps with everything from sleep to mood health, so you make better choices throughout the day with your nutrition, and you're less tempted. So I think the 2 together, and like I said, walking is the most underestimated form of exercise. It's for anyone that comes to me where they are scared of the gym, aren't ready, I just say, right, well, it's it's headphones in the morning and, get out for 30 minutes in the morning if you can. I know it's dark in the evening, but go with somebody, so you feel safe, a 30-minute walk, and that can make a big difference. But I suppose nutrition, definitely. And if people are exercising and not addressing the nutrition, again, that you cannot out-train a bad diet. So not that I like the word diet, but you can't out-train bad nutrition.
That's so true about getting out and exercise in the morning as well. I don't need to do a huge amount of exercise, but I do walk my dog every day, and I do it straight after I drop my husband off at the station. So I bundle the dog up in the car and I drop my husband off at the station, and I go straight to the field to walk him on a long walk, and we do about an hour. And every morning I'm like, oh my God, I've got to get up and do all this. But as soon as I'm out there and I'm walking, I feel fine. And when I get back, I'm completely awake and so pleased that I've done it. And I know if I'd kind of got up later in the day, chances are I wouldn't have gone on such a long walk, and I'd be like berating myself for not getting out there earlier. So it does improve your mood instantly, I think.
I mean, definitely. I'd say a big thing that's transformed both Matt and I is we got a dog, 4 years ago, Hamish. She's a very mountain hound, and we did very little research on the breed. It just was a fate that we got him. And then when we kind of got him home, my dad said, you do know they need about 4 hours of exercise a day? And I was like, oh, really? Look that up. But he has been transformational in terms of our health. And we were very much about exercise for a long period of time. I ended up kind of as a personal trainer just doing too much of it and had to take a real break from it. I got injuries, but I also just got kind of exercise fatigue where I was like, I can't do this anymore. And around that time we got Hamish, and like you, I get out every morning with him and just notice a massive difference in my mood. So sometimes as well, too much exercise creates quite a lot of stress hormones and adrenaline, and we can become a little bit kind of, just fight or flight mode all the time, and create anxiety and some issues there. And once I kind of scaled things back and just walked, I never, realized what a difference that could make. But if I'm honest, again, we get busy with life, and I wouldn't go out twice a day, but I have to because of the dog. So if someone is out there and wants to know, and again, you talk about paying a personal trainer. He's the best personal trainer I've ever had. Definitely, because you have no choice.
No, you don't.
Rain, sun, whether it is dark, cold, you've got to get out.
I know the amount of times I think, oh, I'll wait till the weather changes. And then you look at their little face and I'm like, oh, I can't do it to him. And I have to take him out. It's definitely a good way to lose weight. So we talked a little bit about self-confidence as well earlier. So do you think that exercise is the best way for us to kind of improve our self-confidence and our mindset around things, and perhaps that can help us feel better about ourselves on a wedding day rather than worrying too much about, the excessive weight loss or the extreme weight loss?
I think it's definitely, it helped me. I started running when I was about 19. And I think because more of the fact that it helped with my mood, so it helped me feel more confident. So it is brilliant for that. But I think if I had my time over again, and it's something that we included in Fit at 16, it was just trying to address your relationship with your body is also a really important point. So if, some people genuinely need to lose some weight to be healthy, that's, that might be the case. But for a lot of us, we've got to start it kind of, as I've mentioned, working with the body as a team. And it helps to address why you have this kind of relationship with your body that's, negative relationship with your body. And I often talk about kind of just, almost looking back through your kind of health history. Is it that somebody said something? Is it that the relationships around you haven't supported your confidence in life generally? So sometimes partners, boyfriends, negative comments get made and they kind of stick with you. Especially, I think us ladies are very good at remembering when the negative things were said about us and the positives just go out the window.
Yeah, they do.
So I think when I do nutritional therapy, we use something called functional medicine, which looks at you as an individual and your entire health history. So your parents' health, your genetics, medications you had as a kid, and kind of your whole lifestyle. And then we come up with a plan as to why have you got this symptom, what's gone wrong, and what was a factor in that. And it's not just, it can be you've got food poisoning, but it could also be that your gut is affected by stress. What causes you stress? And so we can find all that information out. And I did a presentation very similarly on body image, because all of us have different triggers and different factors that have contributed towards not having enough confidence, and really and being our own worst enemy at times, so being very critical. And if you look back through, it could be that your parents put loads of pressure on you at school, so to do really well and achieve, and therefore you've got this kind of nature of like, I'm not good enough, I'm not trying hard enough, and that's kind of almost translated into your relationship with your body. So you have to train harder at the gym and things like that. It's a really interesting topic to look at, and generally I get people to kind of, some people need to go and have some counselling sessions that could be really beneficial. Some people, it's kind of just an awareness will help them. So, why don't I like my body? I didn't realize how critical I was being. Because if you ask the person that you're marrying, they'll say nothing but amazing things about you and your body. Yeah. It's all coming from within, and it's quite helpful to address that. Exercise definitely helps. Eating better will definitely help. But for some people, so you're not stuck in that cycle of just those two things, go and spend some time reflecting upon.
Yeah, because even if you do reach that target weight or whatever, and you have got those issues with your body, once you kind of get to that point where you've reached the target weight, chances are you're probably still going to be unhappy with your body, because there's still that niggling thing in your head that's stopping you from being happy.
Absolutely. So what I noticed straight away, when I was training in nutritional therapy, they often said, don't go and work in fat loss. Don't do it, because no one's ever happy with a fat loss goal. They just change the goalposts. So it's like they achieve it and they change it. And I saw that very quickly working as a personal trainer. But because our brand came from the fitness industry, we still have a lot of people contact us about weight loss. And what we wanted to do is help people in a way that was much more holistic and much more sustainable. So that's what we do. But often we do say to people at the beginning of plans, almost park it, park the fact that you've got some weight to lose, get some comfortable clothes, and let's just get on with these goals, which are more kind of about how you want to feel, how much energy you want to have, what maybe some gym goals would be helpful. And the weight loss will be a side effect of those. Yeah. The less you notice, usually the quicker it happens. So if you're not weighing yourself and you're not looking every single day and lifting your top up in the toilet and stuff, those things, and it's more likely to happen because you'll relax and kind of the body responds much better to that kind of situation.
And you're leaning into it more and you're enjoying it rather than stressing over it, aren't you?
Exactly, yeah. Someone actually said to me yesterday that she just she's kind of in our 365 membership, and she's doing some marathon training, and she said, I put a dress on the other day that I hadn't even thought about, that a year ago I couldn't fit in, and it's baggy now. And it was really nice. She'd kind of parked that as a goal. She wasn't, can I get in the dress? Can I not? She just put it on and went, oh my goodness, it's way, looser than it was. And that's lovely to hear. Yeah. It's just a lifestyle for her now, and she's just going to take all the bonuses as they come along.
Which is a better way to be, definitely. So I've got a couple of questions from our listeners who asked us a few questions in our Facebook group, which I'm going to ask you now. So Jenna was the first one who put a question in, and she said that she's put on about a stone in the last year through work stress, and she doesn't feel comfortable or confident in her body at the moment. She's terrified that she won't manage to lose the weight before the wedding, which is in June, and that it will affect her confidence on the day. So any advice would be greatly appreciated.
Well, firstly, if someone came to me and said that they've got a goal in June, I'd be like over the moon, because that's plenty of time. Normally, there's weeks to achieve the goal. So she absolutely has plenty of time, and that's not a lot of weight to lose. One thing that has to be addressed is the stress. But again, changing nutrition is really important for that. Reducing things that can, make stress worse. So usually things like caffeine and alcohol. People use caffeine to get them through the day, and alcohol to then switch off after the day. They will be contributing towards hormone dysregulation, which may be contributing towards the weight gain. So there's loads and loads of things. Obviously, knowing a bit more about that person usually helps. But I would say, again, changing nutrition, focusing on sleep. In terms of stress, it's not going anywhere. But one thing that she can change is how she perceives stress. So there are lots of ways that you can do this, but just generally, a lot of us sweat the small stuff and get really wound up, and you can feel it. It's a very physical response in the body, and it upsets your blood sugars. And you can almost stop yourself in your tracks and say, is this really, a big deal? Is this kind of life or death? And it's so not. My kind of favorite saying is get over it at the moment. So I'll find myself sometimes going mad about, my Mac's got this beach ball of doom that spins when it's crashed, and I'll be like, I've just lost half an hour of work. And then you just have to say, get over it. Because you could spend a good hour, ringing someone and go, do you know what just happened? Yeah. But it doesn't make you feel any better. Sometimes you need to vent, and that makes you feel better. Same thing with relationships, friendships, all those things will cause you stress. It's up to you how much you let it eat away at you, and kind of make your blood boil. And with work, I think a big thing everyone has to ask themselves is whether they want to continue in that environment. Sometimes you have to ask more serious questions. If it's threatening, sorry, that's not the right word, but if it's compromising your health a lot, do you need to change the job?
Yeah.
You can change your perception, maybe change the job, but within control right now is nutrition, some exercise, and sleep. And stress management, by the way, in terms of managing it, I often say to people, don't think about necessarily meditation. That's what everyone gets told, to meditate. And if you're quite stressed and wound up and working hard, that's not going to happen properly. You're going to sit there and meditate, and it won't happen. But you can have an escape. So I often say to people that escape can be a really trashy novel. It can be OK Magazine. It can be a bath. It can be some photography if you're interested in a creative hobby. They are such an escape from work stress, life stress. You can have some people like yoga. Some people just like rubbish TV and or go on YouTube and watch your favourite comedian. These are ways that you can switch your hormone profile in seconds because you've stopped thinking about work or things that wind you up. So there's lots and lots that she can do right now, and she has plenty of time. She doesn't need to worry.
I'm sure she'll be really pleased to hear that. And then similarly, along what Jenna was saying, we had Janina in our group as well. Similar names. It's really funny. But she's worried about getting into shape, and she thinks that a timeline would be useful. So lots of brides have their kind of last dress fitting, like a month or so before their wedding day, which is kind of where they're targeting for, I guess, if they are trying to lose weight. So how much time should they give themselves before that point to reach that target?
So again, it's really down to individuals, and again, your health history is going to factor in this. Certain things will possibly stall or complicate weight loss. So if you're taking any hormones and medications and things like that, by hormones I mean things like contraceptive pills, anything that changes your body's kind of natural profile can complicate things. But generally, I would say, as I mentioned to you, kind of in 3 months' time, you can make a significant difference to your kind of nutrient status. In another 3 months' time, you can really get into a regular habit of exercise and nutrition. It sounds like a long period of time, but again, this is if you wanted to be like a lawyer, do you expect to do it in? It's like a skill that we need to have in life, which is how we kind of say how to eat, how to move, how to think, and how to sleep. We've lost these basic skills, so we have to get them back. And, kind of 3 to 6 months is a great time period to do that, and then find it becoming a kind of a realistic time frame. We launched Fit 16, which is obviously 16 weeks, because we felt 3 months to kind of get that foundation in place, and then a month on being more like 80-20. So you add back in maybe some things that you want to have that we eliminated to improve body composition, because realistically going forward, you want to go out and have a pizza with your friends, you want to go to a wedding and have champagne, or hopefully your own wedding as well. So again, we kind of did it 16 weeks. That's kind of the foundation, but we've had people drop stones in that time. So it's going to be very unique to that person and what their kind of situation is, what they're able to do. But yeah, I would say kind of allow yourself 3 to 6 months beforehand. 3 months is going to get great results.
Okay, great. And this is a bit of a selfish question, but what about for people who really struggle with giving up things that they're kind of addicted to, I guess? So things like sugar. So if you're kind of if you've got massive sweet tooth and things, and you want to kind of embark on this, how do you wean yourself off of that so that you're not craving it all the time?
So a couple of things that I suggest initially is increase your protein and fats. So often cravings can be related to brain chemicals, and so things like serotonin and dopamine. Dopamine is a brain chemical that basically kind of it motivates you, but it surges when we anticipate reward. So if we don't have kind of good enough levels or produce enough, then we're the type of person where we always have to have a reward at some point in our day. So you have to have chocolate after dinner. We have to have something to look forward to at the weekend, something to look forward to in the diary. So we start to cram things in. So these kind of individuals, and this is most of us, this is definitely me at times, often are kind of, we don't have good dopamine production. So increasing protein generally, because tyrosine is an amino acid that we get from protein, which is a precursor to dopamine. So a little bit more fish and eggs and meat within your nutrition, and first thing in the morning. So things like smoked salmon and eggs is a really good breakfast to have. that would help with things like cravings and mood, and you'd feel a little bit more kind of satiated and energized, and then not have to rely on sugar. So that's kind of one area, increasing that protein and fats. Another thing is decreasing kind of the palatability of some of your foods. So if you're kind of having things like sweets and milk chocolate, you know, all of these things act on the brain, and they say to the brain, that was amazing, you definitely need that again. Food industry know that, and they formulate foods especially so they trigger the brain to do that. So if you can reduce that slightly, initially, even if that's going from white chocolate to milk chocolate, you know, do it. But if you move into things like dark chocolate, because the more bitter the food is, the less likely it will do that for you. So increasing the cocoa content of your chocolate very gradually, you know, going 60%, 70%, then 80%. This is what I did. So I was a real sugar junkie. Started gradually increasing it, and then soon my brain didn't actually expect anything that sweet anymore. So gradually I was able to, you know, the cravings just kind of disappear. And again, having more fats in my diet really helped with that. So I went from being kind of very low fat and addicted to sugar to kind of swinging it the other way. When I realized how important the fats were. So doing those things incrementally, and then other things like exercise is really helpful for good, you know, good mood, health, and just having natural highs in your life. So as well as exercise, spending time outside, fresh air, as much as you might not want to get out this time of year, we know it makes us feel amazing. It offers loads of benefits, vitamin D, but also just our cells respond to being outside, and they quite like it. Things like a dog, you know, like hugging your dog and stuff like that. So you have to kind of find your triggers with sugar. Is it because you're feeling low? Is it because you've got no energy? Is it just because you've eaten and this is a habit that the brain's got into, that after dinner follows sweet things? So can you break that habit? Is it comfort eating? And in which case you address the cause, if that makes sense. And so a hot bath and a magazine instead of chocolate, you know, so something that makes you feel nice and relaxed rather than going for chocolate. The after dinner one is a tricky one. I just found having things like fruit and yogurt and dark chocolate, I just kept doing that, and then eventually those are the things I quite enjoy, and they're healthy, so I wouldn't take it away from anybody wanting to lose weight. And actually Matt did a talk, we did a talk last night where Matt he pulled out a load of chocolate, which I was really shocked at. I was like, what are you doing? He had a finger of flake bar and a Bounty, and he was kind of just, his point was that some of them don't have that many calories in. Like a finger isn't that bad. So we don't need to vilify sugar necessarily. That's, I think, where the fitness industry goes wrong again. If you want to have a finger of fudge after dinner, but you've got eaten 3 good meals and you've done some walking and you're going to get a good night's sleep, it's not going to be the be all and end all. And certainly don't use a bit of sugar here and there to send you off on sod it, you know, I've ruined everything. So,
I'll give up.
So I'm going to do another 5 days of a lot of it. That's again go wrong. So don't vilify sugar. You know, I had sugar as a kid, and we all did. So it's just in small amounts, and maybe a little bit of a fudge bar will stop you having, you know. So another thing people do is go and eat a ton of stuff trying not to have the sugar. Like 4 yogurts and like, you know, loads and loads, 100 grams of dark chocolate, trying not to eat the sugar, and maybe if they just had the fudge bar they'd be fine. So that's you have to look at the triggers and the causes of why you want the sugar. Definitely increased protein and fats is a good starting point.
Perfect, thank you. So before, I think we've covered everything that we kind of were going to in the podcast there, which is really handy, but before I let you go, could you let our listeners know where they can find out more about you, especially if they're interested in like your Fitter 365 or your Fitter 16 programs that you've been speaking about?
We have, our website is fitterfood.com, and you can get details about all the things we do on that page. So we have Fitter 365 is our monthly membership group where people get meal plans and training information, training plans, that kind of thing. And Fitter 16 is a bit more structured. So if somebody wants all of those educational components delivered, you get lots of introductory documents about nutrition, about exercise, about sleep, stress, about gut. We've even covered things like nutritional supplements in there, so people understand. I often do recommend a few just to help people catch up. Things like magnesium and zinc, for example, are really important in health and hormone health and body composition. So that's more of a kind of structured educational plan, but obviously along the way you get meal plans and you get training plans. So we call it a lifestyle transformation plan. And then we also have a podcast, Fitter Food Radio. So if people want to just kind of listen with, we're not at 100, I don't think. Again, it feels like we've been going for years with that, but on that, about health and all the things that, kind of mentioned briefly today. So a little bit more detail.
Perfect. I'll make sure I put all the links into our show notes as well, so people can hop over and find you that way. But thank you so much for sharing all that. I feel like I've learned so much and I should have been taking notes. Lots of big words, but I'm sure I'll figure it all out.
Hoping I haven't been like too full on. But...
No, I think it's been really handy, and it's so refreshing to hear from someone who's not just kind of telling us, these exercises will help you lose weight really quickly. It's more looking into the education behind it and doing it in a healthy way, which I think is a really important way to promote. So it's been brilliant.
Oh, thank you.
Anyways, right, well, now I'll speak to you soon then. So thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Bye. Thanks for listening. We really hope that you've enjoyed this episode of Get Wed. Don't forget you can always subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, and while you're there you may as well leave us a review. You can join us for more wedding chat in our Facebook group if you just can't wait until next week. You'll find all the links that you need via our website, including show notes for this episode, over at getwedpodcast.co.uk. We'll see you next time. Happy planning!